everyone, Tim with Collect Jurassic, back with more new toy updates for the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. Over the past month or so, it seems like there's been a never-ending onslaught of new reveals, a lot of them blurry, a lot of them pixelated, a lot of them seemingly somewhat far off. We haven't got a lot of clear looks at toys right around the corner, but I'm hoping today changes that as we have some pretty good fresh shots of a new toy that we didn't previously know about to review today, and that is a new T-Rex figure. We already know of another T-Rex figure on the way with capture gear, but this one is sporting some battle damage instead. This is the Extreme Damage Tyrannosaurus Rex figure from Mattel. We really don't know a lot about it, including when will it show up, but we do know that it will cost about $19.99, putting it in line with the Epic Roarin kind of price range for a T-Rex. But as you can see, this Rex has some interesting things besides the battle damage, and that would be the articulation and the paint job as well. It's hard to say if this figure is a retool of that existing Epic Roarin 1999 T-Rex figure. In some ways, I think it might be a retool, but it's certainly got a lot of different aspects, including this neck articulation seems to be a little more flexible than the existing figure. But the battle damage obviously is an all-new feature too, but we'll get to that in a little bit here. But the first thing I want to take a look at is the paint application. We've seen a lot of different paint applications hit Mattel's T-Rex figure throughout the years, and this one is even different than what we've been getting with the Camp Cretaceous figures. It definitely has some of those browns that we're used to, but a really clearly delineated light underbelly, as well as some sort of like splotchy, darker colors around the eyes and on the back. It's just a little bit different, and if you ask me, it's probably a little bit streamlined, a little bit more budget friendly for this price point. I know that the very well received Epic Roarin T-Rex had a pretty nuanced coloration, and this one kind of reminds me of that, with just kind of done on a budget, if you will. But the yellow eyes look great, the teeth look great, all that stuff. The toenails are painted. Front claws aren't painted, but that's unfortunately something that we're used to. Again, more of those budget constraints, but overall, it's a solid Rex figure. I mean, the Mattel Rex figures always look very, very solid, so it's hard to muck those up too much. This does look like, a lot of the other Rex figures we've gotten, with the exception of that battle damage and that new paint coloration. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at that battle damage and see what's going on here. It does look like there's some big slash wounds on the T-Rex. I mean, it looks like a pretty bad wound, if you ask me, like real bad. Worse than we've seen her get in the movies even. And it doesn't look like there's any action feature that I can tell. It does look like it's literally just sort of maybe some red plastic that they've put underneath the outer shell of the figure to kind of give depth to the wound and kind of make it a little bit more dimensional versus just some red nail polish, as we call it, on some of the battle damage figures. But it's kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely different. We've seen a lot of different battle damage features hit the Mattel Jurassic World line. Everything from swirling red blood wounds in the Spinosaurus to squishy organs with bones in the Albertosaurus figure, and then we have those little trapdoor battle damage on a lot of the smaller figures. But this is something different. It's literally just like a 3D wound that you can look at, but there's no real interactivity that we can tell, at least from these photos. But my guess is that it's literally just a static feature. Which is fine. I mean, this Rex does look cool in and of itself, and I think that it maybe doesn't need any kind of a light-up wound or anything like that, but it is just a very serious wound, and it does show up on both sides of the figure, those slash marks, and it's just, it's kind of interesting that we're getting this very wounded T-Rex kind of out of left field. Makes me wonder, and this is just total, guesswork here, if this figure isn't based on something we see with Rex in Dominion, and maybe the figure is just getting released a little early without the context of the movie. Again, that's just total conjecture. I'm not basing that on anything. I've never seen Dominion, so I couldn't tell, but it just seems sort of strange that we're getting this heavily wounded T-Rex out of left field when Camp Cretaceous is happening, and we know there's nothing like that in the show, so it makes me wonder if this T-Rex has some connection to media that we have not yet seen, which would be the third Jurassic World movie, which was delayed into 2022. But yeah, I mean, besides that, this does have a roaring feature, which immediately kind of proves that this isn't just an Epic Roarin T-Rex with a battle damage wound. I mean, you can see that the button is located on the hips versus the top of the head or the back of the neck on the Epic Roarin T-Rex. So I'm interested to see how they keep that neck articulation, that double jointed neck articulation, while still having this roaring feature that is activated by the hips. But I kind of like that too. It's always kind of awkward to pose open the mouth on the Extreme Chompin' Rex. Sorry, I think I was calling it Epic Roaring, but it was always kind of awkward to use that button right on top of the neck, whereas back here it's on the hips. Feels a little more natural when you're gripping the figure. Also worth noting that the tongue in the mouth is sort of fixed to the bottom jaw versus something like the Extreme Chompin', where it was sort of kind of loose in the mouth or it sprung open with the action. So just something to keep in mind that keeps this figure just that much more different than the 1999 T-Rex figure it more closely resembles. But all in all, I mean, I think that just at first glance, this is a nice new refresh to a T-Rex figure that we've had, that battle damage being the most obvious feature, but the paint coloration is kind of something to be excited about too, with those really saturated but very delineated tones mixed with that red wound. It's just something a little different from all the other T-Rexes we've gotten. I mean, there are so many T-Rex figures at this point from Mattel, and we know there's at least one more on the way with capture gear that actually looks excellent as well. We covered that in a previous video, so take a look there if you're interested to know what that T-Rex looks like. But this one could be right around the corner. I mean, the quality of these photos makes me feel like, this figure was at least ready for production at one point. But again, with Dominion getting delayed, it's hard to say exactly when this one will hit and where it will hit and all that stuff. I mean, 2021 is just the Wild West for Jurassic toy news releases. And I'm doing my best here to bring all those updates to you, trying to figure out when and where things are coming. I'm hoping this isn't a battle damage figure, like an exclusive battle damage figure to Walmart, because as many collectors know, Walmart has not been the greatest partner, at least here in the US, with battle damage. I know in Canada that things fare a little bit better down here, but we haven't seen any of the new battle damage figures in about 2 years now. So if this T-Rex does end up being Walmart exclusive, makes me worry a little bit about collecting here in the States, but hopefully somewhere out there, this T-Rex does eventually hit. But that's all I got for the day. Again, I'm Tim with Collect Jurassic, and thank you for watching.